He endured violent convulsions and hallucinations, and his pronounced underbite and engorged tongue meant he was unable to close his teeth together. The malformed jaw made eating and talking nearly impossible, and he suffered uncontrollable spells of diarrhea and vomiting. It was rumored that he was bewitched, his painful and disfigured body the result of witchcraft or a curse. But the truth was just unsavory and much closer to home. Charles II of Spain's birth defects were the results of the accumulation of over 2 centuries of inbreeding. Not only him, there were so many royals who were poor victims of inbreeding. The researchers define inbreeding as having children with anyone closer than a second cousin. With all those cons, why did people still prefer that? Or weren't they aware of it? Well, keep watching to seek answers and quench your curiosity. Inbreeding is the production of offspring from the mating or breeding of individuals or organisms that are closely related genetically. Inbreeding is a technique used in selective breeding. For example, in livestock breeding, breeders may use inbreeding when trying to establish a new and desirable trait in the stock and for producing distinct families within a breed, but will need to watch for undesirable characteristics in offspring, which can then be eliminated through further selective breeding. It may seem taboo today, but before, monarchs will do anything, and we mean anything, to preserve their power, and one of the ways they did this was to marry within the family. The act is called consanguinity, where biological relatives marry each other in a foolproof plan to destruction. Inbreeding can lead to diseases and deformities throughout history. Monarchs who are produced in inbreeding often led their rule in mayhem and disarray. Consanguinity, the act of marrying a biological relative, has been a mainstay of royal families for about as long as there have been dynasties. On paper, the idea makes perfect sense. Marry a relative, keep the bloodline utterly pure by producing children from consanguineous marriages, and if a dispute should arise within the family, have the conflicting parties get married. Incest also protects royal assets. Marrying family members ensures that a king will share riches, privilege, and power only with people already his relatives. In dominant, centralized societies such as ancient Egypt and Inca Peru, this can mean limiting the mating circle to immediate family. The hazards, while real, are not absolute. Even the high rates of genetic overlap generated in the offspring of sibling unions, for instance, can create more healthy children than sick ones. And royal wealth can help offset some medical conditions. Then what could possibly go wrong? A lot actually. As we now know with the modern science of genetics and the hindsight of so many royal disasters, inbreeding leads to diseases and deformities, some of which were so severe that entire dynasties were brought to their knees. In fact, some historians have even suggested that the inbreeding of European royals was a leading factor of World War I. Considering that children in royal families tended to have much higher mortality rates than the general population, it can pretty well be concluded that being royalty wasn't always all that it was cracked up to be. In fact, while virtually every culture in recorded history has held sibling or parent-child couplings taboo, royalty have been exempted in many societies, including ancient Egypt, Inca Peru, and at times Central Africa, Mexico, and Thailand. While royal families in Europe avoided siblings incest, many, including the Hohenzollerns of Prussia, the Bourbons of France, and the British royal family, often married cousins. The Spanish Habsburgs, who ruled for nearly 200 years, frequently married among close relatives. Their dynasty ended in 1700 with the death of Charles II, a king so riddled with health and development problems that he did not talk until he was 4 or walk until he was 8. He also had trouble chewing food and could not sire a child. The physical problems faced by Charles and the father Tutankhamun, the son of siblings, point to one possible explanation for the near universal incest taboo. Overlapping genes can backfire. Siblings share half their genes on average, as do parents and offspring. First cousin genomes overlap 12.5%. Mating between close relatives can raise the danger that harmful recessive genes, especially if combined repeatedly throughout generations, will match up in the offspring, leading to elevated chances of health or development problems. Let's now see some royals who were the victims of inbreeding. King Charles II of Spain could barely speak or eat. Ferdinand I of Austria liked to roll around in the trash can. Queen Victoria may have spread hemophilia throughout European royalty. Alexei Romanov's hemophilia may have destroyed the empire. Princess Victoria Melita's royal headaches never ended. King George's blue pea caused the American Revolution. Maria the Mad, Queen of Portugal, had royal temper tantrums. Austria's Empress Elizabeth was depressed and anorexic. Empress Elizabeth's cousin, King Ludwig II, was deposed for his madness. King Tut had a cleft palate and elongated skull. Cleopatra was not stunningly beautiful. She was probably obese. Nero's insanity may have been from inbreeding. Caligula's bloodthirst was likely fueled by inbreeding. When a child is born, they contain a shuffled mix of combined genetic material, their two parents. But when the gene pools in two people are very similar, there is a higher chance that the child will inherit something dangerous, either arising as a spontaneous mutation or lurking dormant for generations. Aggressive inherited diseases are usually recessive and require both parents to be carriers of the genetic condition for it to be passed along to their offspring. As carriers do not have symptoms of the disease, the parents are very often oblivious to the deadly combination of code that will pass on to their offspring. While these diseases are usually rare, when two individuals are related, the chances are higher that they will have the same dangerous genes. The closer the genetic relationship, the higher the genetic similarity. While third cousin matches might be safe, the risk is significantly ramped up when the blood relatives are even closer, such as siblings. It starts to become an even bigger problem when not only your father is your uncle, but your grandmother is also your aunt, as in the case of Charles II of Spain. When a family has a history of generations of inbreeding, these recessive mutations start appearing more frequently until a child is born that is battling countable diseases.